with rotation. So far we've worked with two different forms of transformations. The first one was a translation, which was a slide. The second one was a reflection. So that's where we flipped our figure over a line of reflection. And today we're going to work with rotations. A rotation or a turn is a transformation in which a figure is rotated around or about a point called the center of rotation. So here, our center of rotation, oftentimes we'll use the origin if we're working with a coordinate plane, but it's any point that the figure rotates around. The number of degrees a figure rotates is its angle of rotation. So here, the angle of rotation, we would have to go through and actually measure the angle measure of that angle that's formed between the original and the new figure. The original figure and its image have the exact same size and shape. So you'll notice that these bikes are exactly the same. It's just that it has rotated or started to turn around that center of rotation. Okay, another piece that goes along with this lesson is just a little bit of vocabulary, and that's working with what they call rotational, or sometimes referred to as radial symmetry. And radial symmetry or rotational symmetry happens if a rotation of 180 degrees or less produces an image that fits exactly on the original figure. So these are two figures that involve rotational or radial symmetry. So I'm going to draw over really quick, especially this first one, so that you can see there's actually kind of a triangle that's produced in here. So radial symmetry is if I were to take that little piece of this pie and rotate it, would it land exactly and look exactly the same? So if I look at that black triangle-ish pie piece versus this yellow one, do they look exactly the same? Well, no, they don't there. So if we continue to kind of look at the next one over, we can see that our black and our blue are exactly the same. The red is in the same spot. The white little portion is in the same spot. Okay, so the black and the blue would show rotational symmetry. If I were to rotate that around, it would land eventually back on top of another piece that's exactly the same. If we were to go ahead and look at this next one, okay, we would see that our purple and our yellow are showing rotational or radial symmetry. Okay, same thing on our other figure that's over here, our hexagon. If I were to trace over the lines of this, we've got a triangle there. If we were to rotate that around, would our other triangle look the same? So if I were to extend this out and just focusing on the blue triangle versus the yellow triangle, are they similar to each other? Well, if you rotate that around, yes, they look a lot alike, but you'll notice here we've got red in this corner and here we don't. So let's go ahead and look at the next one. If I trace over this, okay, we can see that this one that's up here looks like my green one that's right here. So there I'm seeing rotational symmetry. It lands exactly in the same position. The colors are the same and in the same positions. Although, had that not been colored, the image, all of those shapes that are in there are exactly or look very similar to each other, but it kind of looks like it's rotated a little bit differently or flipped. Okay, there looks like to me like there's a reflection right here. See how this and this are the same? Okay, so rotational symmetry is when we take this blue triangle and we rotate it about this origin. Okay, it lands in the exact same position there. So that's just introducing you to some vocab that could possibly be showing up on STAR or Iowa assessment. Just kind of had the opportunity here to kind of review through that. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working with understanding when we come across a rotation. So when I assess you on rotations, I will be giving you images and asking you to identify whether or not a rotation has occurred. So we're going to practice that concept right now. So here I have a coordinate plane and I've got two arrows. The key thing is when I'm checking for a rotation, when rotating an image on our coordinate plane, if we pick a point, we need to make sure to keep the same distance from that center point when we create our image. So for example, here, if I look at this red arrow, if I was converting from the red to the blue arrow, I should be on that axis line, and I should be, it looks to me like 3 boxes away at the bottom. Okay, so let's look. Am I on the axis line? Yes. And then to the right of our image, so to the right of the long part of our image, did I have 3 boxes? Yes, I did. So this would be considered a form of rotation. We have the exact same shape. It's the exact same size. It has rotated 90 degrees around the origin. So this is our origin, our very middle. So this does show a rotation. Okay, so key thing is making sure that it's in the same position on the other set of quadrants. So here I have 2 hearts. So if I were to take those 2 hearts, we'll look at the red one and see. So if I look at the red one, it looks to me like it's a little past a box from that access point. And then the edge of it is within that last box there. So am I a little over a box here? Yes. I've got a little over a box there. I also have a little over 2 boxes there, a little over 2 boxes here. So yes, this would show rotation. It rotated 180 degrees. Okay, if I were to take this image and turn it, you can see where each of those is positioned. If I were to take this image and rotate it, they're going to be in the same positions. There's a 180 degree turn. They're in the same positions. Okay. All right, let's try one more. So let's look at our triangle here. From red to blue, does that show a rotation? So I'm going to identify, well, I've got a point right here on my axis line. Do I have a point on my axis? No, my 2 points are not touching the axis line, so this would be a no, it does not show a rotation. What type of transformation does it show? It shows a translation, a slide from one spot to another. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bring out 3 sets of figures, and we're going to identify those figures as either rotations, translations, which is a slide, or a reflection, which is a flip. So what I want you to do is I want you to go through, pause your video, and see if you can identify of these 3, which one's a translation, which one's a rotation, and which one is a reflection. Okay, so here I'm noticing between the 2, that is a reflection. So for A, it was a reflection, taking note that it flipped over that axis point. On B, here's an axis line. It looks like it was rotated or turned on its side, so this would be a rotation. And for C, there's our axis point. It looks to me like it was just slid over to the other side of that line. This would be a translation. Okay, so when I am assessing you over rotations, it would be an example like this where I would give you some pictures and ask you if it was a rotation or not. I might ask you to identify some of the other transformations, okay?